If they asked me, I could write a book about the way you walk and whisper and look.
Joining us now is a man who has had a very interesting job. He's written a book called The Beer Bible, The Essential Beer Lover's Guide, and we're joined today by Jeff Alworth on the telephone from, I believe, out in Portland, Oregon. And Jeff, good to talk with you. How are you?
I'm all right. Thank you for having me.
It is Portland, right?
Yep.
Good part of the country. I've never been out to that part. I've been to Washington State, but I understand it's a great place to live. But first of all, you've had an interesting job. More than 15 years you've been writing about beer. How'd you get into that?
I got into it just because I liked beer. I developed, like so many other people in America who've gotten into good beer, kind of slowly just had my first good beer, and I thought that was interesting, and I started drinking more, and I started home brewing, and then eventually there was an opportunity to write a beer column in the local weekly newspaper here in Portland, and I did that, and, it just snowballed, and then I wrote the Beer Bible.
I wish I knew more about beer. I couldn't drink it growing up because I had some food allergies, and I couldn't have, I believe I was allergic to hops and some of the other things, so I never really got the taste for beer, but it's an interesting thing to study because there's so many types of beer, right? I mean, you mentioned the home brews, but all the brands over the years. I remember on baseball games, you hear the commercials for like Rheingold, Schlitz, Pabst, all those kind of brands. You just kind of get ingrained in you.
It's true, and actually that was, believe it or not, a period of time when we were suffering in a kind of weird period in history where most of the beers, like the ones you just named, were brewed in a particular style. They were light crisp Pilsner-style lagers. But it turns out there are dozens of other kinds of beer, some that are dark, some that are heavy and strong, some that are very hoppy, some that are even kind of sour. So there's a lot of different beers out there, and it's since this new craft brewing revolution has hit the United States, breweries are now finally starting to investigate some of these other breweries and these other beer styles, and so you're seeing much more variation when you go to the grocery store or the restaurant or the pub. A lot of different flavors out there to try, and it's too bad that you have an allergy because beer is really lovely beverage.
I'm missing out, I guess.
I feel for you.
Now, is beer only brewed from hops and barley, or are other things used to make the different flavors?
It is mainly brewed. Most of the beers that you're going to find are brewed with barley, malted barley, and hops. But it can be made with other things. It can be made with any cereal grain. So it can actually even be made from rice and corn. In Africa, they make a beer out of sorghum. People might have heard of kvass, which is a Russian rye beer. So any kind of cereal grain can be that you can get sugar out of. Basically what you need is sugar from a grain, and with sugar, if you have sugar, then you can ferment it. Yeast loves sugar, so that is how you make beer. And the hop, since you haven't had the pleasure, hops are both a bittering agent, so it helps offset the sweetness of the malt, which can sometimes be quite sweet, so it gives a little bit of balance. And hops also act as a preservative, so it helps keep the funkiness out of beer.
You travel all over the world doing your research on this. I guess people think it started in Germany. Is that true, or did other countries also have it roughly at the same time?
Well, lager brewing started in Germany, actually in Bavaria, but beer brewing is as old as civilization itself. There's evidence of brewing by the Sumerians sometime probably 4,000 BC or earlier, and there's evidence that even before there were Sumerians, when people were just wandering around as hunter-gatherers, that they were even able to make a crude kind of proto-beer. So, yeah, it's really, really old. But the tradition of lager brewing, which is the most popular and common kind of beer that you find in the world now, that does go right back to Bavaria.
What were the first beers that came to America? Was it Anheuser-Busch, or how did it start in this country?
Well, there's actually beer on the Mayflower. So, Yeah, funny story. The Mayflower arrived, and there was some kind of dispute. They were supposed to land in a particular place on the coast, and their beer supplies were running low. England is, of course, a famous and ancient brewing country, and it sounds kind of funny when you think about it, that the beer, it would be an emergency that the beer was running low, but actually it helped ward off scurvy and some of those other things because it has complex nutrients in it. And so when they ran out of beer, they just landed at Plymouth Rock because they were out of beer and they needed to figure out a place to land. It wasn't where they were supposed to land. So that was the first beer. It came with the first people, and we've been drinking beer ever since.
Is it difficult? I mean, you talk about all the microbreweries now. People can even do it themselves. Is it a difficult process? I guess you can get kits now, but other than that, I mean, does it take a while? How long does it take to brew a barrel of beer, whatever the amount is that you do at a time?
Right. Well, it's like cooking. You can spend a lot of time at it, or you can do a quick and dirty version. It's sort of the difference between making something from scratch, if you want to do it that way, or using a mix to make something. Beer is the same way. You can make it relatively simply, and then I know some home brewers who are crazy nuts, and they spend just hours and hours and hours doing extremely complex procedures, which for most people would be lost on them. But that's what avid hobbyists do. So yeah, you can really get deeply involved in it. Or there are a lot of people who just like to make it. There are kits you can use, and you can make a batch of beer pretty quickly and pretty easily, and just have it around the house and enjoy it. That's also cool.
I know we kind of associate beer with Milwaukee, but in the United States, are there other areas that are kind of known for brewing the best beer?
Yeah, I think it's changing. So Milwaukee is the old traditional seat of brewing back when we had national brands dominating the conversation. Another famous city, of course, is St. Louis, where Budweiser is from. But now that we're having these smaller craft breweries come along, we're seeing trends shift a little bit. And actually, my hometown of Portland, Oregon, is one of the most famous cities for craft beer. But there are others as well. New England is doing some good work, the upper Midwest, and all up and down the West Coast has been really a leader in craft brewing. But the interesting thing is, as the years have gone on, more and more craft breweries are opening up all over the place, and I think in the next 20 or 30 years, you're going to find that good beer, good local beer can be found pretty much in any city of any size, anywhere in the country. So I expect to see that happening. I know there's quite a bit of it happening in Florida, too. So, it's just going on everywhere.
Yeah, I used to work many years ago at Busch Gardens. Now, I know Anheuser-Busch doesn't own them anymore, but they did have the brewery down here for many years. So that was one of the places they did it. And they used to give away free samples. I don't think they still do that, but...
Yeah, they might. I don't know. When you go on a brewery tour, they often give you a sample of the beer.
I'm not sure if the brewery's still there since Anheuser-Busch sold it. But anyway, that was one of the places in Tampa. But it's a really interesting book. Even if you don't drink beer, I'm sure people are going to enjoy it as well. But it really gives you the in-depth knowledge of where it's brewed, how it's brewed, and the ingredients and all that. It's called the Beer Bible. We've been talking with Jeff Alworth today. Jeff, I know you have a website, Beer Vanner. Is that it?
Yep, that's it. That's where I blog and kind of a clearinghouse for everything I'm doing. So, yeah, if you want to Google Beervana, you'll find my blog that way.
And the book is available there and all the book sites, I imagine, too, right?
That's right. It's available online, and also it should be at your local bookseller, too. So
great.
It's on a good release. So, yeah, you should be able to find it everywhere.
Jeff, pleasure talking to you, and good luck on your continued study, and hopefully we can talk to you again. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
If you'd like to order the book we're talking about, please go to DougMilesMedia.com and enter the author's name in the Amazon search box. Thank you for listening. Please come back soon for more conversations here at DougMilesMedia.com. This has been a presentation of Doug Miles Media, all rights reserved. You can listen to or download previous programs at iTunes, Stitcher.com, or Doug Miles Media.